Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Leal Legacy's Radnarok, our Badnarok edition of Radnarok, and specifically our Badnarok breakdown for Walt Disney's Bambi. Hopefully by now you have watched Bambi while listening to our watch-along podcast. If you haven't, why not give this a pause and hop on back, do that, and then rejoin us here. And as we go over everything you didn't know you wanted to know about Bambi. I apologize up front if my voice sounds a little rickety. I just recorded a new watch-along podcast, so that will be hitting the feed here in a bit. I don't know when. Trying to keep these all within an aura of like timelessness. You know what I mean? I try not to reference anything specifically related to time, just so it kind of feels like this could have been recorded at any given time. You know what I mean? Years into the future, maybe possibly years in the past. I guess if you are listening to the future, this would have been recorded in the past. Okay, I'm blowing my own mind right now. Yeah, so I just taught. I've already spoken. I've already ran my mouth for like 2 hours, and yeah, I'm going hard today, going super hard. Bambi, one of those films that was part of my Disney VHS collection as a youth, and I watched it a significant amount of times. I always found it to be a pretty sad movie because it's undeniably sad, with Bambi losing his mother and such. And as a child, I did lose my mom. So once that had happened, I broke away from Bambi. I just refused to watch it. I was like, I don't want to feel that every single time I'm trying to watch a movie and escape from reality, because Bambi quickly became something that wasn't an escape from reality for me. It was a depiction of my reality, if that makes sense. I mean, granted, I'm not a deer, and neither was my mother, but, it's just, I really could relate to that heartbreak, and it's not something that I really sought to experience time and time again. So, our watch-along podcast was really the first time I've seen Bambi in quite a while. And I think I mentioned that quite a bit during the watch along, but, ultimately I was happy that I got to see Bambi again, because there's so many good parts to that movie. I mean, the loss of his mother is only a small portion of the overall story itself. Granted, it is a climactic turning point for Bambi, but at the same time, I mean, there's so much that happens before that, and then there's so much that happens after that. So I kind of left feeling, well, didn't leave, I didn't go anywhere, but at the end of our watch along podcast, I was left feeling kind of like I had deprived myself in a way of such beautiful animation and fun music and fun characters. Also, there's a lot of Bambi I kind of forgot about, maybe, given that I hadn't seen it for so long. And doing these watch-alongs as I'm watching these Disney films sequentially, I'm catching the influences from other films of the same era. You know what I mean? So it was really cool to see that. I pulled a lot of Fantasia-esque notes from Bambi, which makes a lot of sense because I think the production of Bambi was closer to Fantasia than I believe Dumbo was, but I don't know. Maybe we'll get into it here when we go through the breakdown. So let's get a rolling. Bambi from 1942, August 21st, 1942, to be precise. Let's see. Directors. There's nine credits for directors, sequence directors. James Alger, Samuel Armstrong as Sam Armstrong, David Hand, Graham Heed, Bill Roberts, Paul Stratterfield, Norman Wright, Arthur Davis, and Clyde Geronimi, Geronimi. Oh, and by the way, if this is your first Radnarok, hey, me, dyslexic, and this whole podcast is me reading facts, so not a good reader out loud. You're going to have to deal with that, and I can't really pronounce a lot of names, so when I come across a name that I'm not able to read, I'll spell it out, and you can figure it out yourself, okay? Great. Leave it in the comments, too. Leave me a phonetic pronunciation of any words I get wrong. I'd appreciate it. So those are our directors, sequence directors. Each one of those people had a sequence of Bambi that they were in charge of. The original story was from Felix Sultan. Then Pierce was the story direction. Is that right? Is that Pierce? Percepearce, right? Pierce? I'm going to call him Pierce. I don't care. Then the story adaptation was from Larry Moray. Story development from Vernon Stallings, credited as George Stallings. We know the name Vernon Stallings from some other stuff. I believe probably Disney related, but at the same time, I want to feel like that name pops up in our classic cartoon commentaries over on the Leal Legacy YouTube channel as well. Let's see, more story development. Mel Shaw, Carl Fahlberg, Chuck Couch. Whoa, that's a cool name. Good old Chucky Couch. And Ralph Wright. Those are the folks tasked with our story development for Bambi. Okay, let's see. So Hardy Albright. We're going into cast now. So adolescent Bambi was voiced by Hardy Albright. Then Stan Alexander was our young flower. Babette Audrey was a voice. It just says voice. It doesn't say for who. It just says voice. So Peter Ben was young Thumper, and that's Ben, B-E-H-A, or no, B-E-H-N, Ben. So Peter Ben is our young Thumper. Thelma Boardman is the girl bunny, quail mother, and the female pheasant voice. So Thelma was carrying quite the load. Another voice, Janet Hartman, and then Gene Christie, and then Dolan Bramston Cook. Sorry, I was getting distracted. Okay, so Dolan Branston Stuck. All right, I'm going to try that again. And it's Dolyn. So Dolan, right? Dolan Bramston Cook was another voice. So what I was getting distracted by was I was trying to figure out what do they mean by voice. So what I'm only able to surmise is that, sorry, geez, it's Radnarok, guys. I'm not going to worry about clearing my voice and coughing and all that stuff. Now on the watch-alongs, I will do my best to avoid doing any of those things, but this is something different. So voice. I can only imagine that they mean like when Bambi is first born and there's just a crowd of the animals. I'm imagining that just the chitter chatter within that group of animals, like the disembodied voices that are coming from the group that we're not sure which animal is saying it. That is what I imagine they mean by voice. So Marion Darlington was birds, and it says voice in parentheses. So I guess there's a bird that was speaking somewhere, that just a nameless bird speaking. Bird. Sorry. Where was Bambi? Tim Davis was an adolescent thumper in opposed to young thumper. And also adolescent flower. So adolescent flower and adolescent thumper were voiced by the same person, Tim Davis. And then Stan Alexander was young flower. I don't remember if I had said that yet or not, but there you go. Donnie Dunnigan was the voice of our young Bambi. So I'm imagining that's the Bambi that goes bird. Maybe. Or maybe that's adolescent Bambi. Maybe that was Hardy Albright. I don't know. I don't know if it was Hardy Albright or Donnie Dunnigan that went bird. I'm having too much fun with that. I gotta stop. All right. Sam Edwards was our adult thumper. Oh. Okay. Ann Gillis was adult Faline. Okay, then I was like, I don't remember seeing anybody credited as young Faline. Okay, so adult Faline, young, or wait. Adult Faline was Ann Gillis. Otis Harlan was Mr. Mole. Eddie Holden was a chipmunk. Sterling Holloway was our adult flower. Jack Horner, just a disembodied voice. There's so many just voices. Cammy King Conlon. Cammy King Conlon. Conlon was our young Faline. See? That's what I was looking for earlier. Mary Lansing was our Aunt Ina, and Mrs. Possum. Who is Aunt Ina? Was that Faline's mom? Oh, there's no photos, so I guess Aunt. Aunt Ina. I suppose Faline's mom. Let's see. Margaret Lee, Thumper's mother. And also when I say Faline's mom, Aunt Ina, parents, friends of parents have, like, you call close friends aunt and uncles to your kids. You know what I mean? I do the same thing with Bane. It's Uncle so-and-so, like Uncle Ryan, Uncle Fieldmouse, blah, blah, blah. Like, they're not biologically related. So that's not to say that Faline and Bambi were cousins and fell in love and, went down this kind of complicated romantic path. But, yeah, you get what I'm saying. Let's see. So Margaret Lee was Thumper's mother. Clarence Nash was Bullfrog. Babs Nelson, disembodied voice. Sandra Lee Richards, another disembodied voice. Francesca Santoro was another disembodied voice. So many just weird, just phantom voices. Fred Shields was Great Prince of the Forest. That is Bambi's father's title, like name. There was no name for Bambi's father, just Great Prince of the Forest. Maybe that is his name. Maybe when he was born, he was like, you know what, our child is Great Prince of the Forest. That's what I'm going to name my next kid. Great Prince of the Forest. Bobby Stewart was Baby Bambi. Oh, wait. Baby Bambi. Oh, no. Oh, no. Now this throws a whole nother wrench into the works. Was it Bobby Stewart that said bird? Oh, geez. Oh, geez. All right. So somebody help me. Does somebody know who did it? Was it Bobby Stewart? Hold on. Donnie Dunnigan, or was it Hardy Albright? Which one of those guys said bird? Because that's the most iconic thing I feel like Bambi ever said. Okay, I'm done. Then we got John Sutherland is adult Bambi. Is that Sutherland or Sutherland? Sotherland. Because it could be Sutherland. Sutherland. You know what? Sutherland sounds better. So, and I apologize if it's Sutherland, but Sutherland, I prefer that. So either way, John, adult Bambi. Paula Winslow was Bambi's mother and a pheasant. Just a pheasant. Oh, here we go. Eloise Wallowend. Wohlwend? Wohlwend. Wohlwend was another disembodied voice. And then Will Wright was Friend Owl. Produced by none other than the late, great Walt Disney. Music by Frank Churchill. Edward H. Plum also did music. And Lee Harline. Harline. Lee Harline was also contributed to the music. Film editing by Thomas Scott. And art direction by Tom Kodrick, Robert Cormack, Lloyd Harding, Dave Hilberman, John Hubley, Dick Kelsey, McLaren Stewart, Al Zinen, 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 then Bruce Bushman, Claude Coates, Hugh Hennessy, Hennessy, Lance Nolly, and Kendall O'Connor. And then from there in our credits, it's production management and second unit directors or assistant directors and stuff of that nature. So I'm going to move along because not that I don't respect the second unit directors. It's just, I don't know, that doesn't seem to be as necessary to dive straight into. And then the animation department with the 700 names there. Like, you're not listening to this to just hear me list names. We want factoids, right? Let's see if we can find some factoids. My dog Nova is barking at other dogs outside, and she knows I'm recording, which is just really inconsiderate on her part. So, did you know? Let's see. While the film's songs do appear, this is in fact the first Disney animated feature to not contain any musical elements. Interesting. Starting with Tarzan in 1999, which also only includes songs in the background. Oh, that's not true. That's not true at all. Tarzan didn't only include songs in the background, because I'm pretty sure the gorillas had a musical number. Didn't they? Okay. I'm not reading that piece of trivia because the inaccuracy just was a giant slap in the face right out the gate. So, okay. Wait, and then it also goes on to say, all films in the Disney Animated Classics lineup will not be musicals with the exception of The Princess and the Frog in 2009, Tangled in 2010, Winnie the Pooh in 2011, Frozen. What are they talking about? Like, all of them had music. I would agree that Bambi didn't have any songs sung by characters. I don't understand what this point of trivia is. And you know what? It can be edited on the IMDb. So, hey, if you're the person, can I see who wrote that? Should I call them out for being a dum-dum? No, I'm not going to go find them. I don't know why that was like the piece of trivia right out the gate, but it was the piece of trivia that really discredited all the other trivia for this film. Like, I don't trust any of it now. What in the world, man? That is so inaccurate. Like, why would they put that on the front page of the Bambi IMDb? That's so dumb. Anyway, let's see. Goofs. Right before Thumper tells Bambi those are birds, he has 6 sisters instead of 5, and they are staring up at the birds in the trees. Okay. So he had 6 sisters at first, and then one walked away. I'm not sure if that can really be considered a goof, because I just explained how that could have worked. Maybe it was a goof. Maybe they did intend to have 6 and then they left one out when they cut back. But it can also easily be explained off as, yeah, one walked away. One went to go use the bathroom. So, all right, IMDb for Bambi, I'm leaving you because you're starting to make me mad with how just recklessly inaccurate. Man, that trivia piece really bothered me. Like, to a point where, like, beyond where it should have. Trying to claim, whatever, man, whatever. We're not talking about other films. We're talking about Bambi. And yes, Bambi was a film wherein none of the characters sang their own song. Okay, great. Let's see. So Bambi is a 1942 American animated drama film directed by David Hand, supervising a team of sequence directors who we all know now. I went through them all. And produced by Walt Disney and based on the 1923 book Bambi, A Life in the Woods by Austrian author and hunter Felix Sultan. Wow. Author and hunter. So presumably that's really fascinating. Author and hunter Felix Sultan. So in writing Bambi, I'm presuming that he was a deer hunter. Can we get a little piece of him? Let's see. Felix Sultan was an Austro-Hungarian author and literary critic in Vienna. His most famous work is Bambi, A Life in the Woods. So presumably, if the story adaptation of Disney's Bambi is similar or accurate to the book, and a hunter kills Bambi's mom, Felix Sultan kind of made himself the indirect villain of the movie. And also, Bambi's one of those, we don't really have a villain in Bambi. You know what I mean? I suppose man is the ultimate villain. And the hunter that kills Bambi's mother could be argued to be our villain, but at the same time, it's a faceless hunter. We don't know who that hunter is. Man enters the forest more than once in the film, but we don't know if it's the same person, the same group of people. We don't know anything other than mankind is the threat to the woodland creatures. And that really in a touch of irony with Felix Salten being a hunter himself, I wonder if it was a time where he was deer hunting and had gotten a kill and possibly developed this whole backstory of, the ramifications. I guess it wouldn't really be a backstory, but developed a story based on the ramifications of his kill. He took down a deer in hunting, and I presume, I have no reason to believe he was like a trophy hunter or something like that. I'd imagine, given the time, 1923 in the early 20s and such, it was hunting for food and for nourishment and things of that nature. So it's not necessarily a villain with malicious intent. It's villainy. I guess it wouldn't even really be called villainy. It's just, yeah, there is some real kind of abstract and in-depth connotations there, man. That's really fascinating that the author of this story was a hunter himself. So very, very cool. Very, very interesting. The main characters are Bambi, a white-tailed deer, his parents, the great prince of the forest, and his unnamed mother, his friends, Thumper, a pink-nosed rabbit, and Flower, a skunk, and his childhood friend and future mate, Faylene. In the original book, Bambi was a roe deer, a species native to Europe, but Disney decided to base the character on a mule deer from Arrowhead, California. Now, when I hear Arrowhead, California, I think of the bottled water, Arrowhead water. Because that's the water we drink in California. Let's see. Illustrator Maurice Jake Day convinced Disney that the mule deer had large mule-like ears and were more common to Western North America, but that the white-tailed deer was more recognizable or more recognized throughout America. Yeah, so if you're going to try to relate to the U.S. as a whole, you're going to want to have an image of a deer that most Americans would recognize when they think of a deer. I suppose, yeah, a mule deer is more West Coast oriented. So those on the East Coast and the South and the Midwest would have a different image in their mind when thinking of a deer. So that was a really astute observation and suggestion by old Maurice Day there, huh? Let's see. The film received 3 Academy Award nominations: Best Sound, Sam Slyfield; Best Song for Love is a Song sung by Donald Novis, Novis, and Original Music Score. So Bambi, the 3 Academy Awards that Bambi was nominated for were all based in its audio achievements, opposed to its visuals. Also very fascinating, because I feel like the visuals of Bambi were pretty fat, incredible for its time. Like, the animals moved and felt kind of true to life, but maybe not all of them. Bambi's mother very much had the mechanics of a live action deer depicted fantastically well in animation, but let's see. In June 2008, the American Film Institute presented a list of its top 10 the best 10 films in each of 10 classic American film genres. Okay. After polling over 1,500 people from the creative community, Bambi placed 3rd in animation. Okay, cool. That was kind of a mouthful. Okay. So 1,500 creative people were polled for the American Film Institute's 10 best films in each of the 10 classic American film genres. So one of those 10 classic American film genres is animation, and Bambi placed third. Got it. In December 2011, the film was added to the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress. Cool. So far, I feel like all the Disney feature films that we've seen so far have been added to the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress. So that's pretty cool. In January 2020, it was announced that a photorealistic computer animated remake was in development. That sounds interesting. So if you're listening to this in the future, that is yet to come out for where we are in time. I'm curious to see how that goes. The other live action adaptations of classic Disney animated films have kind of been hit or miss for me. Bambi, I'm intrigued. I wonder how that story will translate to live action. Because I did not enjoy the live action Dumbo per se. But the live action Aladdin was cool. The live action Lion King was a little lackluster in my opinion. The live action Jungle Book was super rad. So Bambi, I guess we'll see. Let's see. Okay. Development. In 1933, Sidney Franklin, a producer and director at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM, purchased the film rights to Felix Salten's novel Bambi, A Life in the Woods, intending to adapt it as a live action film in 1933. Could you imagine that? A live action Bambi in the 1930s? That's kind of bonkers to me, to be honest with you, because how does that technology exist back then? Okay, well, here we go. See, I do that thing where I stop reading and I start like critiquing and dissecting things when I should just keep going. So after years of experimentation, he eventually decided that it would be too difficult to make such a film. Yeah, and he sold the film rights to Walt Disney in April 1937. So I guess in 1933, animation was still on the rise in development. Like it was still kind of like a new-ish novel form of entertainment, and it doesn't really seem like it wouldn't have been anyone's natural first inclination to make it an animated film. But in that same breath, it really seems like adapting Bambi into live action seems just as like feasibly inconceivable, right? Yeah, I don't know. All right, so Disney began work on crafting an animated adaptation immediately, intending it to be the company's second feature-length animated film, and their first to be based on a specific recent work. Oh yeah, I guess. So 1923, that would be a recent work for the 1930s, huh? So it was ideally supposed to go Snow White, then Bambi, instead of Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, then Bambi. So that is also in itself really interesting. However, the original novel was written for an adult audience. Oh, okay. So Bambi was never intended for kids, like, at least originally, until Disney got his hands on it. and was considered too grim and somber for a regular, lighthearted Disney film. Interesting. I wonder what that original Bambi novel is like. Grim and somber. Because, I mean, like, the death of Bambi's mother is pretty somber. And I guess arguably grim. I wonder if there's an audiobook version. Because, again, dyslexic. I find it very difficult to read full novels. So I'd prefer to listen to them. Interesting. Okay. So the artists also discovered that it would be challenging to animate deer realistically. Okay, so that makes sense. These difficulties resulted in Disney putting production on hold while the studio worked on several other projects. This isn't in what I'm reading, but namely Pinocchio, Fantasia. In 1938, Disney assigned Pierce, again, I'm just calling him Pierce, and Carl Fahlberg to work on the film's storyboards. But attention was soon drawn away as the studio began work on Fantasia. Yep. Finally, on August 17th, 1931, production on Bambi began in earnest, but progressed slowly, owing to the challenges in the studio's personnel, location, and methodology of handling animation at the time. Fascinating. Let's see. Okay. So there were many interpretations of the story, as Mel Shaw claimed. The story of Bambi had so many possibilities, you could go off on a million tangents. I remember one situation when Walt became involved with himself. He said, suppose we have Bambi step on an anthill. Okay, step on an anthill and we cut inside and see all the damage he's done to the ant civilization. Could you imagine Bambi just kind of like trotting along, hoof goes into an anthill, and you cut to like inside the anthill of little ants screaming and Oh, I'm sorry, my throat's drying out. Let's see. We spent weeks and weeks developing the ants, and then all of a sudden we decided, we're way off the story. This has got nothing to do with the story of Bambi. We also had a family of grasshoppers, and they get into a family squabble. A family of grasshoppers getting into a family squabble of this or that, and Bambi is watching all of this. And here's the big head of Bambi in the grasshoppers. Wait, what? Okay, so ultimately, with my choppy reading, another scene, I guess, that was cut was a family of grasshoppers having some sort of like family argument, and Bambi's giant head is sitting there watching them. And that's what got to do. And what's that got to do with the story? This would go on many times. Interesting. So that was all from a recounting of writing the story from Mel Shaw. That's so funny. Originally, the film was intended to have 6 individual bunny characters, similar to the dwarfs in Snow White. However, Pierce suggested that they could instead have 5 generic rabbits and 1 rabbit with a different color than the rest, with one tooth. Then the rest with one tooth would have a very distinct personality. This character later became known as Thumper. So with that nonsensical trivia point from IMDb, I guess there were always intended on being 6 bunnies. But then they were made into 5. So maybe there was a goof. Maybe they had drawn the 6 bunnies for the scene and then later changed it. But at the same time, I don't know. It's still pretty easily explained. Like one rabbit went away, and I don't remember seeing that. We'd have to watch it again and count the bunnies in that scene. So whatever. There originally was a brief shot in the scene where Bambi's mother dies of her jumping over a log and getting shot by a man. Okay. Larry Moray, however, felt the scene was too dramatic and that it was emotional enough to justify having her death occur off screen. Yeah, I think it was way more impactful, honestly, having her die off screen. Like, leaving the mystery, you know what I mean? Of like what exactly had happened. Because Bambi, yeah, not allowing Bambi to witness his mother's death. I feel like having him witness his mother's death probably would have been, for me as a child, it definitely would have been way more unnecessarily intense, if that makes any kind of sense. So, yeah, and I'm glad they went with what they did. Walt Disney was also eager to show the man burned to death by his fire that he inevitably started. But this was discarded when it was decided not to show the man at all. So again, we have the faceless hunter who killed Bambi's mother. Okay, got it. And then I guess at one point, Disney wanted to show that hunter dies and burns to death in that fire he unintentionally started. So, man, Disney was pretty hardcore. Let's see. Yeah, I'm also glad that they didn't show the hunter at all. Like, that just adds to the, I don't know. Maybe because that's just the way that we grew up with the film, how the film was ultimately created. But I don't know, thinking about it, seeing the hunter, it wouldn't have added anything. I feel like it may have just like, I don't know. I'm glad they didn't show him. Let's see. There was also a scene involving two autumn leaves conversing like an old married couple before parting ways and falling to the ground. But Disney found that talking flora did not work in the context of the film. That's more Alice in Wonderland-y, I think. And instead, a visual metaphor of two realistic leaves falling to the ground was used instead. Yeah, okay. I'm glad they ditched the idea of talking leaves. Let's see. Disney and his story team also developed the characters consisting of a squirrel and a chipmunk that were to be a comic duo, reminiscent of Laurel and Hardy. However, after years of experimentation, Walt felt that the story should focus on the three principal characters, Bambi, Thumper, and Flower. So the squirrel and chipmunk only make a brief appearance in the final film. Yeah, Disney, you can tell that he was very much of a comedic mindset with his films, but just something about Bambi, comedy's not Bambi. Bambi's not intended to be funny. I think it's difficult to tell a story where a young deer loses his mother in the way that he does, and just like the visuals of Bambi in general, like it doesn't lend itself to funny. I mean, yeah, here and there, but I think like incidental comedy and gags are two very different things. You know what I mean? Like there can be funny depictions, but trying to make jokes just definitely was not the tone of Bambi by any means. Let's see. The writing was completed in July 1940, by which time the film's budget had increased to $858,000. Wow. Okay. So here's the animation. Although the animators had animated deer in Snow White, they were animated in the words of Eric Larson like big flour sacks. I don't know what that means. Disney wanted the animals in Bambi to be more realistic and expressive than those in Snow White. Makes sense. He had Rico LeBurn, a painter of animals, come and lecture to the animators on the structure and movement of animals. The animators visited the Los Angeles Zoo, and Disney set up a small zoo at the studio with animals such as rabbits, ducks, owls, and skunks. And a pair of fawns named Bambi and Faline, so that the artists could see firsthand the movement of these animals. Makes a lot of sense. Rico LeBurn's sketches depicted realistic animals, but as characters, they lacked personality. Makes sense. You got to find that fine-tuned balance of realistic animal, yet animated character. You know what I mean? They have to have personality in order to lead a film. So that's a really intriguing balance you gotta land on. Mark Davis created the final design of Bambi by incorporating LeBurn's realistic study of deer anatomy, but exaggerating the character's face by making his proportions baby-like, short snout, big eyes, etc. Interesting. Okay, so it's literally all within like the face itself that brings the character to life with personality, an individual personality. Okay. Although there were no humans in Bambi, live action footage of humans was used for one sequence. Actress Jane Randolph and Ice Capades, Capades, star Donna Atwood, acted as live action references for the scenes where Bambi and Thumper are on the icy pond. Okay, so they brought in humans to kind of use as references of how, I guess, not necessarily animals, but yeah, animals move around on ice. Because I guess you're not really going to go throw a deer or push a deer or rabbit onto ice and just start pulling references from that. So that's a really interesting move that they took. The animators learned a lot about animals during the film's production, giving them a broader spectrum of animation styles to use in future projects, which makes a lot of sense because, I mean, just about every Disney animated feature has animals in it to some extent, right? The backgrounds for the film were inspired by the Eastern American woodlands. One of the earliest and best known artists for the Disney studio, Maurice Jake Day, spent several weeks in the Vermont and Maine forests sketching and photographing deer, fawns, and the surrounding wilderness areas. However, His first sketches were too quote unquote busy, as the eye did not know where to focus. Yeah, that makes sense. Tyrus Wong, a Chinese animator, showed Day some of his impressionistic paintings of a forest. Day liked the paintings and appointed him art director of the film. Oh, cool. Wong's backgrounds were revolutionary since they had more detail around the center and less around the edges, thus leading the viewer's eye to the characters. Fascinating. Because when you do watch Bambi, you notice that the backgrounds, like the edges of the backgrounds kind of like, fade into an almost blur. But that makes sense, because if you've ever been like in a densely wooded area, lots of leaves, things of that nature, like where you're focusing, I mean, you could just focus on anything. Just look at anything and focus on it. Everything outside your direct line of focus kind of does have an almost like not necessarily a fuzz or a blur. It's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just out of focus. You know what I mean? And I guess that is a fuzz and or a blur. Okay, so due to World War II, which began in Europe in 1939, Pinocchio and Fantasia failed at the box office. Leave it to the Nazis to, cause Pinocchio and Fantasia to fail. Facing financial difficulty, Disney was forced to cut 12 minutes from the film before final animation to save production costs. I wonder what those 12 minutes of Bambi were. And I don't know. I wonder if there's like a storyboard out there or something that shows what that was, or if it was just kind of scrapped and thrown away altogether. Let's see. Songs. All lyrics are written by Larry Murray, and all the music was composed by Frank Churchill. Love is a song performed by Donald Novis, N-O-V-I-S. Little April Shower was performed by the Disney Studio Chorus. Let's Sing a Gay Little Spring Song was also by the Disney Studio Chorus. And Looking for Romance, I Bring You a Song was both by Donald Novis and the Disney Studios Chorus. Very cool. Very, very cool. Let's see. Bambi was released in theaters in 1942 during World War II and was Disney's fifth full-length animated feature. Got it. The film was re-released to theaters in the United States in 1947, 1957, 1966, 1975, 82, and 1988. It was then made available in North America on home video in 1989, and then the UK in 1994. Wow. Even in home video, it has seen multiple releases, including 3 VHS releases. 1989, the classic version, the Masterpiece Collection version in 1997, and then in 2005, the Platinum Edition version. One Betamax release in 1989 for the classic version, and then 2 Laserdisc releases in 1989 of the classic version as well. 1997, there was a Masterpiece Collection version, also on Laserdisc, and most recently, a digitally remastered and restored Platinum Edition DVD went into release, or was released in 2007. Interesting. Cool. And then more releases. Bambi was released as a Diamond Edition on March 1st, 2011. Blu-ray. Okay. Cool. And then in honor of the film's 75th anniversary, Bambi was re-released as part of the Walt Disney Signature Collection on May 23rd, 2017 as a digital release, and then Blu-ray as well on June 6th of the same year. Cool. So the critical reaction for Bambi. At the time of the film's release, Bambi received mixed reviews from critics, mainly because of the lack of fantasy elements in the film and objection towards a dramatic story of animals and their struggle to survive in the woods and avoid the threat of humans. Yeah, when you're going to go see a cartoon, you're not necessarily like anticipating a heavy drama. So, okay, here, look at this. Hunters spoke out against the movie, and in a 1942 edition of the magazine Outdoor Life, editor Raymond Brown wrote that the film was the worst insult ever offered to any form to American sportsmen. It was the worst insult offered in any form to American sportsmen. But see, the irony of that is that the original story of Bambi was written by a hunter. So, goes to show that, you know, when you don't have all the facts, you run your mouth and you seem foolish. Don't you, Raymond Brown? I don't care. I mispronounced your name because you're a silly fool. Let's see. The New York Times claimed that in the search for perfection, Mr. Disney has come perilously close to tossing away his whole world of cartoon fantasy. But see, that's the thing, is Disney was an innovator. He wasn't sitting there trying to make, you know, the films and tell the stories that people thought he should. He was doing the ones he thought he thought he should. He wanted to break ground. Manny Farber of the New Republic deemed the film unpleasant. He also stated that in an attempt to ape the trumped up realism of flesh and blood movies, has given up fantasy, which was pretty much the magic element. Well, why don't you open your mind, Manny, to the possibilities of animation? Animation doesn't always have to be gag related. But, you know, I guess people were dumber in the 40s. Even Disney's daughter, Diane, complained, saying that Bambi's mother did not need to die. Well, Diane, that's what happened in the story. When Walt claimed that he was only following the book, Diane protested, saying that he had taken other liberties before and that Walt Disney could do whatever he wanted. But that's just what he did. He did do whatever he wanted. So I wonder if Disney's daughter, Diane, was, kind of swallowed those words a little bit later in life, seeing how iconic Disney has become. So today, however, Bambi is viewed as one of the greatest animated films ever made. I do agree with that. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 90% based on 49 reviews, with an average rating of 8.22 out of 10. Not too shabby, eh? Not bad, eh? I mean, it is a really great movie. Like, it really, truly, truly is. Okay, let's see. Some of this info is just repeating what we had read previously. So the box office. The film was released during World War II. Got it, we know. And did not perform as well as hoped. Okay. Roy O. Disney sent a telegram to his brother Walt after the New York opening of the film that read, "Fell short of our holdover figure by $4,000. Just came from music hall, unable to make any deal to stay third week." Wow. Night business is our problem. The film earned RKO theatrical rentals of $1,270,000 in the United States and Canada in its initial release. Disney lacked access to much of the European market during the war. However, the film earned rentals of $1,685,000 internationally for an initial worldwide total of $2,955,000. Disney's third highest behind Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1937 and Pinocchio in 1940. Fascinating. And then the reissue, not too hung up on that. Sequel, Bambi 2, set in the middle of Bambi. I just hate when they do that. When they make sequel movies set in the middle of the first movie, because that's not necessarily a sequel. It's just more story, right? So do we even want to talk about Bambi 2? Bambi 2, set in the middle of Bambi. Bambi 2 shows the great prince of the forest struggling to raise the motherless Bambi and Bambi's doubts about his father's love. Whatever, man. Whatever. So all in all, I feel like that sums up pretty much all the most interesting points of Walt Disney's Bambi. So consider that officially broken down. Learned a lot. I don't know. Something about Bambi, like in comparison to Snow White and Pinocchio, there doesn't seem to be as much like tidbit information, but the tidbit information that we do get, in my opinion, is wonderfully compelling and very interesting. Up until this point, before the watch along and this breakdown, I always kind of felt like Bambi was just revered because it was one of the earliest Disney productions. But given the groundbreaking nature of it all and just like the interesting points of the story itself and the author, and the critical reception of it being a drama is it's just super, it's just way more interesting than I had ever given it credit before. So yeah, that being said, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for taking the time to learn about Bambi with me. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the watch along podcast. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go for it. And also check out everything else we got going at leallegacy.com. Other podcasts, we got our Skeleton Crew store. You can scope out Skeleton Crew, the Leal Legacy lifestyle brand, with, streetwear, apparel, just things I personally wear, t-shirts, hoodies, baseball tees, things of that nature, all featuring designs digitally crafted by me. A lot of the designs have a Disney flair to them. I just pull inspiration from the things that I love most in life and fandom. So you can scope that out at leallegacy.com/shop or skeletoncrewbrand.com, and that is crew, CRUE, like Motley Crue, but skeletons. That's really the best way to provide support for Leal Legacy and keep us afloat, being able to do what we do here. What else? We got our YouTube channel. You can scope out that. Just look up Leal Legacy. We do classic cartoon commentaries there, where it's a lot like our watch along podcast, where I happen to just run my mouth over classic animation. But the difference is it's shorter and the visual element is included. So it's me just speaking directly over the cartoon itself. I really love doing those. Learn a lot. Fun all the way around. What else? Yeah, so you can go there, subscribe, like, hit that ding dong notification bell. We have more than just classic cartoon commentaries. Like, you can find us doing live video game streams. Bane and I do time-lapsed Lego builds. What else is up there? Oh, vloggentaries, where I wanted to be a vlogger, but I'm not good at it. So I'm good at doing commentary. I'm good at running my mouth. So I collect footage of fun times in life, edit it together, and then I talk over it. Those are pretty fun. It's ever changing, ever developing, ever growing. So scope that out. Also, what else? Social media. Come look us up across all your favorite social media platforms. Just look up at Leal Legacy, interact with us, give us some feedback, chit chat. We got a Discord. I'm probably going to start Discords for each of these animated films, so you can go and find outlets to give your opinions, what I did good, what I did bad, what you liked about the movie, what you didn't like about the movie, all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? So let's get interactive. Let's hang. Let's have some fun together. And yeah, and if you don't mind, subscribing, leaving us a review, a rating, hopefully a 5-star rating, it really helps people who don't know about the podcast discover the podcast, and ultimately that's what this is all about, right? So as always, guys, thanks for everything. Catch you next time. And most of all, really, thank you for being a friend and telling a friend. See ya.